So the scripts are not public, you were saying. So the magic happens.
Yeah, the magic
do
happens.
things on the database.
Yeah, essentially we migrate from major version to major version. So we do, let's say you want to go from 15 to 17. We will take your DB, upgrade it from 15 to 16. For you, for the customer will be seamless, okay? So we'll do the upgrade from 15 to 16. And then from 16 to 17, and we will return the DB. If everything goes well, we will return the upgrade DB in 17 to the customer.
That not so long ago on a database.
How was that?
It's magic.
Thank you.
Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Odoo Unplugged. And today we unveil the mystery on one of the, I would say, biggest thing when you have to maintain a software like Odoo, upgrade. But before getting into it, let our guests introduce themselves. So who starts? Who are you? What are you doing here?
Ladies first.
Oh, thanks.
Wow.
So I'm Maureen. I'm part of the upgrade support as a technical agent, and that's it. I mean, I do technical stuff every day, helping my colleagues from functional support every day.
Mm-hmm. How long to do? How long in the company?
It's been 6 years, but I moved from PS Tech to upgrade support.
And it's the second time we see you in a
Yeah.
Thank you for being back.
Then we go with the elderly.
So my name is Gil. I'm part of the support team, and I'm an expert in upgrade. And I've been working in Odoo for 2.5 years now.
Yeah.
Last but not least.
Yeah. I'm Eduardo. I also work for Odoo. I've been working for Odoo for a couple of years, just about the same time as Gil.
It feels like you don't even remember what you were doing before.
No, actually.
It's been so long.
Indeed.
Okay.
And I work for R&D upgrade. So yeah, if you have an issue when upgrading, it's probably this phase that you should blame. But you will interact with that phase.
Yes. We will see the details of what those jobs mean, but this way you already have a glimpse at the thing. But before anything else, what do we even call an upgrade? What is an upgrade?
So an upgrade is, well, from a technical point of view, is just adapting the database of Odoo, of the current instance of Odoo, to match the changes that were done on the code base in the new version, so that the new code works the same.
Okay, so that's the very technical
yeah,
way
that's
of
the
saying
technical.
it. So for all the others, how
Yeah.
would you explain it?
It's just going from Odoo 17 to
to
Odoo 18.
Nah,
It's,
better.
To summarize, it's just a change of version, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you need to adapt to everything that changed and indeed modify the data accordingly so that the new version does not with the old
traceback.
database.
Nothing, no errors.
Okay, so before we get a bit deeper on how it goes, small disclaimer, because we used to call upgrade migration. I know I'm going to say migration at some point, okay? So I mean upgrade. Correct me if I say it, but this way we're sure it's clear for everyone. So we dropped that term of migration. Why is that?
Because we have migration is not an upgrade. Migration for us, for support, is when you change hosting or when you go from community enterprise to enterprise edition. So when you are in the free version of Odoo and you paid a subscription. And when you change hosting is when you go, let's say, from SaaS, so Odoo Online, to a more thing like Odoo SH or Odoo On-Premise. And upgrade is really when you change versions. So when you go from 17 to 18, for example.
So this created confusion, and at some point we were like, let's just rename the thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so
sorry
about that. I might say migration at some point. All right. What then is the process? Let's say I have my database I created a few years ago, so it's now in Odoo 16, and I want to upgrade to the new version. How does that go?
So, well, there are a few different routes depending on which hosting you are on. So if you're on Odoo Online, Odoo SH, or on-premise.
Maybe a quick reminder of what the difference is?
Yes. So, so on-premise, it's when you actually host. So you have it's a more technical solution, and you host your own instance of Odoo on your server or PC or whatever.
Or Raspberry Pi at home.
Yes, yeah.
I did that.
Like the chick kitchen stuff does, right? And Then there is Odoo SaaS and Odoo, so Odoo Online and Odoo SH, that are two solutions that Odoo offers.
So
to
then
our
we are the
customers.
one hosting.
We do the hosting part, and the differences between the two is that Odoo SH basically offers a bit more flexibility, and you can
You have your own container basically to just adapt the solution to your needs.
Yes, you can.
And Odoo Online, you can just basically do sometimes the same, but you limit it in your actions.
You cannot have code of your own.
So
at least,
Odoo SaaS you cannot do customization, and Odoo SH you can do customization.
Okay,
So
so
Odoo Online, you can only use Studio to bring customizations to the table.
so then I want them to upgrade. I was going to say migrate. So what is the difference depending on the hosting then?
Yeah, the difference is just actually how you start the upgrade. So for Odoo on-premise, so for customers that have their own instance on their servers, they can go to we offer as the upgrade team, we have a platform, and we offer a few different actuators. One is through our website, so you just go there and upload your DB, and then we will send you a mail and how to download the DB, the upgraded DB, and that's one option. If the DB is not too big, let's say, I will not go into the details. And otherwise, you have a CLI tool, so you can just use a terminal command, let's say, to request an upgrade. For Odoo
I
Online,
actually did that not so long ago on a database of mine.
how was that?
It's magic.
Thank you. For Odoo Online and Odoo SH, actually, we don't. We as the upgrade team, we don't. Let's say we are not responsible for that part, so I'm not really sure how that goes. But you have some buttons.
I can answer for that part. So for Odoo SH, basically you have the upgrade mode directly on the interface of Odoo SH on the staging and production branches. First, test your database, please.
We will go back on that.
But you can request an upgraded database from the upgrade mode. For that, you can select the version, and then it will send the database to the upgrade platform. Or you can also use the same form as the on-premise parts. And for Odoo Online, you have basically on your account, you can select your database and try to request a test database with the selection part.
You have like a dashboard with
Yeah.
In the database manager of the database.
Okay, and then what happens? So it sends the database to the migration platform. That's like very, very abstract.
Upgrade
very
platform,
magic.
please.
What's that black box upgrade? I knew I would say that. So what happens then?
So then
What can happen?
It's a bit of a magic process, let's say. It's a black box for customers, because actually the scripts are one of the few parts of Odoo that are not publicly available.
But you have some utils that are now, right?
We do have a utils that allow.
That is something we need to mention.
Yes, we do, because that allows customers to build. To write their own scripts for their own custom modules.
So basically, maybe to quickly explain for the developers that would be listening to us and be like, what, they did that? Because actually, yes, we did. You have a bunch of helpers that can help you modifying the database properly, so you don't have to handle
like
everything
create a
yourself.
column,
And that is
deleting some records,
And it's
deleting
called
some
upgrade
views.
utils.
upgrade utils.
Yeah, it's the repo is called upgrade util, and yes, there are lots of those utils, and essentially those utils encode lots of details that otherwise would be very hard to do by hand. Let's say that you want to remove a field from your custom module. There is lots of things that you need to do, and thinking of all of those every time would be really error prone. So that's why the utils are really handy.
So it's on GitHub. Go have a look.
Yes.
All right. And so the scripts are not public, you were saying. So the magic happens.
Yeah,
They
the magic
do
happens.
things on the database.
Essentially we migrate from major version to major version. So we do, let's say you want to go from 15 to 17. We will take your DB, upgrade it from 15 to 16. For the custom will be seamless. Okay. So we'll do the upgrade from 15 to 16, and then from 16 to 17. And we will return the DB. If everything goes well, we will return the upgrade DB in 17 to the customer.
How long does it typically take?
Well, that's
For 3 versions like that, let's say.
it's
Depends on the client, depends on the size of the database. I would say between at least 15 minutes to
Yeah, even less.
72 hours is the max, right?
72 hours, it will actually be cut off. So
Yes.
they will actually, if it takes longer than that, you will not get a
But I
upgrade
assume
with-
this only happens for like big monsters and databases
Well,
with a lot of data.
Yes, for one, it only happens for those big DBs, but it's often the case that, I don't know, there is a query that is not working well for the state the DB is in, or there is something that is really not going well. And that's why we actually put a cutoff, because otherwise it could probably go on forever, and otherwise we know that there is something to fix.
We will go back on the technicalities of what can go wrong.
The time also can depend on the number of version you're upgrading. Like, for example, if you take from version 8 to version 16, it's a lot of versions. So it can take so much time, then it can break.
Plus, I assume it also depends on what happened in that version, right?
Yes.
Because
Exactly.
of course, if something was changed on a table that contains a lot of data, I'm thinking about accounting stuff because I work in accounting, but between 12 and 13, it was a heavy one because we had to touch every accounting entry in the database, so that was a bit heavy, of course. For the script, so.
I would say it's directly proportional with how busy the accounting team was that year.
It's true.
Probably quadratically proportional.
So the scripts runs, and then so you said if it goes well, they get the migrated DB
Upgraded.
Every time.
And that's why I wanted to start the episode with that. I knew it. And if it does not go well.
Okay, well, if it doesn't go well, we, for one, see it. So we have our own dashboard where we see how many DBs are failing. We can also inspect whether there are, common failures. So lots of DBs.
Maybe first on the customer side, they get some kind of report telling them.
They get an email saying your request failed. Please open a ticket, and we will get back to you. So that's what's happening. But as he said, they monitor the upgraded database. So when they receive multiple failings with the same problems, they create what we call trace break groups.
Yes.
And then they work on the problem and they make sure that the problem is not appearing anymore.
If
after
you realize that 10% of the databases
Yeah.
are failing with the exact same error, it's probably not their fault.
No.
It's probably Olivier.
Might be. Which Olivier?
There are plenty, but I think you know.
Okay, so then they create a ticket and you investigate.
And we receive the tickets. We have a pipeline where we analyze all the tickets and we decide whether it's a blocking request or a functional issue. So generally speaking, if it's a blocking request, so if your request failed, we will send this ticket to our friends, the developers. And we have many of them. And then they will either decide to make a specific script, which is a script for your database only, or they will decide to make a generic script, which is a script that will be deployed for everyone.
I guess the line between the two is like, typically with support, is it a bug or is it something that is just specific to the database for whatever reason? Or is it more complex than that?
I would say it's the same, but sometimes it can be different.
Does it happen that for very specific cases, for matters of urgency or whatever reason that the customer could have, you might go for something local first and then maybe later do a fix in the script?
Yes. For an example here, I had an issue with loyalty cards. Basically, the customer was like, I don't see my loyalty cards anymore. He was upgrading from 17.4 to 18. And he was like, where are my loyalty cards? I am just checking in the database. I was like, okay. I'm just saying that the cards are not there anymore in the UI, but they are still there in the database. It's just that they are not active. So I'm like, okay, I'll just reactivate them. And then I'm seeing maybe more. And I'm like, why is it active? Why is it inactive? And then I'm like, in the standard script, it does that. Why? And I'm investigating a bit further and I'm like, okay, now I know why. So I make a generic script basically for that instead of a specific one for
so
the
I guess
customer.
It's always a trade-off to decide, okay, this is the symptoms are simple enough and it's safe enough so that I can fix them directly for the customer, and it's alright, because of course we don't like.
I already fixed it for the customer because the customer was maybe ready to upgrade, so I didn't want to block him to upgrade. But here I already made also the fix for the generic scripts.
So in parallel, when we have those issues, so when we detect something like this, and we were like, this needs to be fixed now, so the customer can start testing properly.
And we don't have time here, us as technicals, we can just create.
So what we do, we create what we call a unicorn ticket, which is a ticket. We will fix the database for the customers, all the customers that are reporting the issue, but then in that ticket, the unicorn ticket, we will create a generic script for everyone, so the problem doesn't appear anymore.
Sometimes it's just R&D upgrade that takes it and fix it for us.
And so after discussing on the ticket and solving the problems that were blocking, let's say everything. Well, I mean the upgrade goes to the end, and so there's no error anymore. What do they do then? Is it like directly applied to production and pooh, here we go?
No, they have to test.
I knew it. I wanted you to.
Please do test. It's really important for the customer to test. So what we recommend for every customer is when you create a test database, you do all the flows that you do every day. So if you create an invoice, you print the invoice, you check your website, you check your eShop. So basically, you really do everything that you do on a daily basis. And if you're happy with everything that you've tested, you can upgrade to production, of course. But if you're like, this seems weird, I don't know if it's supposed to be like this, then you can create a ticket. So we will support all customers with the subscription, of course. But we will also support all the versions. So that means that if you are in V7, 7. So let's say you are in V7 and you want to upgrade to V18 and you have a subscription, we will help you. So we will help you get through the upgrade process, even if it's painful. We will get you there.
This must be like really challenging for our teams. I mean, because V7 was when I entered Odoo, V7 was already an old thing. Okay, it's been 8 years. So now it's like ancient stuff, right?
Yeah, we still have a few customers on premise that are still in V8, V9, V10. And we have to manage how to help them because sometimes you cannot restore the database or you cannot work on the database because it's so old. But we are lucky enough to have those guys that help us a lot, that teach us a lot of stuff. So we have a lot of resources to help the customers.
Even though for those kind of databases, we recommend to just start a new database in a new version, a fresh database basically, with just importing your data in it if you can.
Because the gap is too big.
Yeah, the gap is too big. The database is nearly too big because we know that all the data is there from a lot of years now, and also the data might be broken at some point.
Well, actually, it's also because the philosophy behind. I mean, the developers now take a lot of care into. Well, a lot, not a lot, but we're getting there. A lot more than before.
Come on, they take a lot of care.
We are trying.
So what happens is that when a developer works on a new feature or on a change in standard, they also create a script that we use during the upgrade. That's how it goes. But back then it was less, let's say,
usual.
Not usual, but less strict. So we have, it's less reliable, let's say, to go from old versions to the new ones. Whereas going from 13 to 18 is fairly safe because...
Which makes sense, because Odoo grew a lot. So when Odoo 7, 8 were released, we didn't have the means, so financial means, of course, but not only financial, even just the people that we have now, and plus there is the expertise that the teams built over the years that is now being very useful for all that.
Upgrade team wasn't existing at the time.
Actually,
It's
only been a few years, right?
I mean, it's just marginally more than I joined it. It should be 4 years to 5 years old, something like that. So it's pretty crazy that we fared without an actual team for so long.
Yeah, because just so that it's clear for people, so of course there were people taking care of the migration upgrade. But before it was called migration. At the time it was migration. I'm sorry.
You have a very good excuse.
And but now we have people that only do that, and that's something that was only possible to do a few years ago, because we grew enough for that, and plus it was needed for customers because the workload was too big. So sure. We haven't talked yet about custom modules. What happens if you have like custom codes for people on Odoo SH? I have written like 10,000 lines of code of my own that I run on my database. Of course, it creates things in the database. Of course, or likely, it's inheriting a bunch of things in standard code. So I need to upgrade that at some point.
So for this part, if you pay maintenance fees, we will take care of the upgrade of this code. And if you don't have that maintenance fee, we can maybe point where it fails or not. But in the case where you pay those maintenance fee, we adapt the code from the version you are to the targeted version. And then we also try to manage the database itself, basically.
So they're responsible unless they paid for it.
Yeah.
Okay, makes sense, huh? Do we have maybe some numbers on migration? I'm turning to you. I know you have numbers. You still know them by heart.
Right. The number guy.
It grew a lot. Last year we were at 1.1 million requests for the year. And that's a 30% increase from the last year. So in 2022 was only 800,000.
Only.
So it's only.
Only.
It's growing. And ticket-wise, we are going also from like 10,000 tickets per year to almost 50,000 tickets per year, which is quite a lot when you know that there's only 13 functional like me, 12 now. So it's a small team.
Yeah, it's crazy to see that load being handled by so few people. So you guys must have a pretty efficient process, right?
Yeah, we do. We are lucky enough to have not only a good team, but a team that is really supportive with each other. And we have also all the R&D upgrade and technical upgrade people. We work really closely together. We see each other like a lot. We talk to each other a lot. Which helps a lot. When you have issues with a customer that doesn't know how to restore the database, but you don't have any knowledge.
They don't know. They ask us.
They don't know. Then we ask the big guys.
And sometimes we don't know either. So we ask the module maintainers.
And then we all figure it out and we try to help the customer as the best as we can.
Let's maybe get a little deeper into the dynamic between all those actors. How is it structured actually? You have like I'm going to put it like this because I just for the effect of it. But you have like a very hierarchical structure, and you have the responsible going to each time one level above, and so you have to follow this path, and the process is super clear like that, or is it a bit more messy?
Odoo way.
Odoo style.
Let's say it's the Odoo way. No. So in total in support, we are 150 people. So as I said, 12 upgrade experts. But when we have an issue, we can always escalate to either our team leader, or we can go to an upgrade technical or R&D upgrade. We have resources. So and they gave us the resources. So let's say at first we couldn't replicate an issue, they will point us to the right direction. So it's really, you are working on your own, but you're never alone. So you know that you can go to the next person and ask questions. And I know, for example, that if I have a problem in accounting, I can go to you and ask you questions about it. And I know you will answer to me. You will say, hey, this is a problem. Indeed, we can probably fix it. And we will fix it, or we have to talk to the customer about it, maybe do a feedback, whatever. So it works really well in the end. For example, I had an issue with analytical accounting the other day, which was really nice. And the customer complained about the way you used Odoo in 17.4 and the way it changed in 18.0. And I went back to the person that made the commit, that made the change. And he was like, let me talk to the PO. I'll come back to you with an answer. And replied like 20 minutes after. I took the answer, send it back to the clients, and the clients were like, yeah, this makes actually a lot of sense. Thank you for giving me this. And then it's a really good process in the end.
I think it's and that's why I was introducing it like that because of course I knew it works like that. But it's the same with a lot of things in Odoo, and I think it's also we've probably said that a couple of times in the previous episodes. I'm repeating myself, but this like. I like to call it messy, but it's probably not the right word because messy is like, it feels negative, but it's not
free flow.
Messy. It's freer actually, and you don't have one path you're supposed to follow, and you can't contact that guy because you haven't asked the manager first, but that guy is not his job, so you cannot ask him. You have to fix it yourself and just find a solution. This is something we don't do, and I think it's working like really well because. So personally, I'm a team leader in R&D, in accounting. I do get a lot of questions, true, but not too many of them. I mean, people are reasonable. And I think that's amazing with your teams that you manage to find this balance. You search yourself, who you can ask questions to, and at some point, sometimes if it's necessary, you escalate to the guy who initially made the feature. And frankly, on paper, when you write something like that, people would be like, yeah, but at the end of the day, they will all go to R&D all the time because it's just going to be
no,
and it's not like that at all.
No, because with experience, you get some experience.
True.
And then so you can answer the question.
Yeah, and you understand the changes. Like if I read something and I'm like, oh, yeah, this actually makes a lot of sense compared to the old version, you can explain it yourself because you've worked enough with the product, so Odoo, to know that it's logical, and you get that Odoo logical way of thinking, which is really good in the end.
True, and I would say a lot of the culture is also it's also involved a lot in that because people are used to analyze, understand, ask questions. So and when you escalate to someone, you don't go like, fix my problem. You're like, do you understand that? I don't know what is going on. So you're just asking questions, not trying to put the responsibility of someone else. That is also something very important.
That's super important. You have to take, how do you say that? You have to take the time to understand the problem, but you also have to acknowledge the problem. So you just have to say, hey, yes, this is a problem, but we can talk about it. It's not a closed door. It's open to discussion, which is, I think, a really good thing in Odoo in general.
Sure.
And I've never met someone that say, oh no, it's like this and we cannot change it. It's yes, we did it because of, and the explanation behind it. So yeah, it's really good. And when you don't know something, you just ask, hey, I don't understand what you mean, because I'm not technical, as you are. The three of you are developers. But when I came to Odoo and I had to ask a question about code and didn't know any Python, it was like, it's Chinese to me.
Yeah, but it's the same for us. I mean, something that is very interesting with this job. I mean, maybe the best thing actually. The best thing is the people, of course. But the second best thing, second best thing,
the food. Let's be honest. Shout out to the kitchen team.
But I'm not getting lower. So it's really like the constant challenge and the fact that. When I entered Odoo, I knew nothing but like very few things about accounting, and then I learned on the spot, and sometimes like very, very niche functional cases. But that is interesting because you make something, you're like, it's working, then you realize it's actually not really working in every case, so you redo it, and you have this cycle. I used to joke that it's the most frustrating job in the world because you're always facing the things in your code that are not enough to cover the actual thing you're wanting to solve. But it's very important and very interesting to have that dialogue with people that actually do understand the functional problem and don't have any idea how it's how it's working behind the scenes. Because often you get some feedback and you're like, okay, it's it's annoying. I acknowledge the problem. We need to do something, but it cannot work as it is now. So I have no idea. We will find out. But that's really interesting because it keeps you in this mindset where you're constantly challenged, and that's really great.
Mm-hmm.
It is. In fact, from our team as well, I mean, we understand most of the code, but again, from the functional point of view, since we work with all the modules, because every module needs to be upgraded, right? So we cannot really know every detail about the functional details there. So that's when the functional team can actually help us. So it's a two-way sided communication. And
I can only approve.
So we work really well together in the end. It's really great to know that you can always rely on them, and that if we want to challenge them, they will listen to us. Because that's something also that's coming back to, like, with time. It's been 2.5 years, but if I say to Eduardo, hey, that's a problem, let's make a change, he will not say, oh no, I don't want to. He will say, yeah, okay, let's deep dive into it, and we'll see.
And then he sends me a message, I read it, I'm like, shit.
The classic.
The classic.
Yeah.
So it's going to be time for the break very soon. I suggest we just answer very quickly one question we got in the chat before doing it. So what's the craziest migration story you've encountered, and how did you overcome that challenge? Do you have an anecdote like that?
Yeah, I have a good one.
Okay.
Maybe you can answer that.
I have a good one. So the customer is sending me a ticket for a change in his flow, which usually we don't support, but the flow is really, really specific, and it triggers an error that is been in Odoo for Odoo 14.0.
Okay.
They are in Odoo 16.0. All right. So, but they never had that problem before. But they upgraded to 17, and they don't know why it's triggering the problem. So I work on the ticket with the guys on my left and girls, and we try to figure it out, and nobody gets it. Nobody, and it's crazy. Like, the ticket takes, I think, in total 5 months to solve, and in the end. It's actually a problem from Odoo, so from the code of Odoo, but also from a configuration point of view from the customer, for a usage of the user, from the flow of the user, but also the way the product is configured.
So everything is wrong.
Everyone was in blame here, and it was a nightmare because the customer was like, "This is not our fault." But then from a code standpoint of view, I was like, this is not Odoo's fault because it's a standard error. So it's not even a traceback. It's just an error saying you cannot do that. And in the end, we had a developer working on it for like, I think 72 hours straight. And he was like, yeah, this is the fault of everyone. and everyone was like, in the end, the customer was like thanking me for helping them. And I was like, saying, I'm sorry that it took so much time. And then the referred, so the partner was like, oh, thanking us for helping them, but we're like, thank you for help. So everyone was like, sorry in the end. But yeah, 5 months for that ticket, it was quite kind of a nightmare.
But it's working now.
Yes. But
which is the best part.
Yes. that was actually a really good day, to be honest. And I was really happy about it.
That's great. You guys want to tell another one?
I don't know.
Maybe. For my part, I just have a recent ticket where I had an issue with the accounting dashboard. Yeah, why not? When you remove the favorite filter, Odoo was crashing in 18, and I was like, why? So I just checked the JavaScript, and then I was like, okay, it's an accounting journal. Okay, let's check the journals. And then why one journal has no type when it's required? Okay, I'm just checking. Okay, fine. In 15, it was okay. In 12, it was okay. In 8, it's not required. Aha! Then I asked the customer to just put a type on his journal, and it works. No. That's it. But yeah, you can just go back really, really fast on other versions.
I wouldn't call this crazy, but it's a funnier story because I was just basically getting started in R&D upgrade, so it was 6 months in the team, which is kind of the incubation period in our team, which is a bit long, but it's warranted by the difficulties there. So so I was fairly novice, and one of the upgrade support guys calls me and says, "Hey, I have this ticket. It's really quick. I promise. It's easy. Come and look."
It's always like that.
Yeah.
It's not.
and I took the bait. Okay, I took the bait. I said, okay, let's give it a shot. And apparently, so we were upgrading from 15 to 16, and the customer was not having their accounting reports anymore. So somebody apparently made the refactoring of the accounting reports. I never figured who that was.
No idea.
We won't say anything.
Somebody told me it was this dark-haired guy with curly hair.
Maybe, I don't know.
A charming guy.
That's the moment I need to put on some false. Okay.
So there was this big refactoring, and I was really aided by that guy eventually, and we managed to migrate those reports.
What he means is that he was the one doing most of the job and just asking questions, and I was very happy he was there. That's the way the story went. So thank you for that.
Thank you as well.
And with all these nice words, it will be time for a little break now. So we will be back in a few minutes. See you then.
See you soon.
And we are back for more upgrade stuff. So don't laugh like that, guys. We had another question in the chat that I think is interesting to start this second half. What about revisions? So do you suggest leaving automatic or manual selecting? So what do we call revisions here? Someone can explain?
I don't know.
But we separate the SH part from the upgrade part. For the SH part, you can select the revisions for your branch. It's just usually we stay at the latest revision because we have security updates for the code base of Odoo, but it's just in your current version, not your targeted version, basically. For the upgrades, you have like a freeze, and for that part, I maybe will let Eduardo.
Okay. I didn't know the revision part on the Odoo SH, but yes, on our platform, what we do is that there is a relatively recent feature, let's say, that we freeze the scripts to the last successful request in under certain conditions. I don't take the numbers with certainty because they might have changed and I'm not really sure. But when we first deployed that, it was that if you had a successful test request in the last 3 days, then for the production request, we would take the same scripts that were used back then. So say that some changes were made during those 3 days, and maybe they potentially broke the process. Yes, those will not apply.
Yeah, because of course you don't want to have your final test being all fine.
Exactly.
Then you say, all right, production, and too bad we don't run the same script, and so there it does nonsense somewhere for whatever reason. So it's just a safety measure actually to avoid breaking stuff. On
essentially yes. It was heavily requested, and our team resisted a bit because we were not sure because. In those 3 days, you might also have bug fixes, right? Sure. So there is also that. Because things can break and the upgrade process can go smoothly, but maybe there is something that actually functionally is broken, right? Mm-hmm. But as part of the upgrade process, it actually makes sense because, as we were mentioning before, you should request an upgrade, test upgrade, and test it with all the flows and stuff. Once you're sure about those, it makes sense to retain to retain the validity of those tests basically for the next 3 days or whatever the number of days to the production upgrade, which is actually also the more sensible one for the customer because they have maybe to shut down their website or whatever, and so it's important for them that the production upgrade is not surprising, let's say, in the result.
So the revision here, you're talking the revision the guy is talking and us is really different.
Okay. we have a second question that I think is really interesting for bridging to the next topic. Is there a way to get security updates longer than 3 years?
Upgrade.
Upgrade. So that
upgrade.
brings us to the reason for you would want to upgrade, and typically, security fixes, because we don't support all the versions all the time. It's not possible, of course. So we don't update version 7 anymore.
Too bad.
We don't really miss it though. But so if you want to get the latest security fixes, of course you have to be on one of the supported versions, right? And so that means you need to upgrade at some point.
Yes.
We support the last 3 versions.
Yeah, we support the last 3 versions, so 16, 17, 18, plus the last intermediate version, which is 18.1 currently. For Odoo SH, we have platform support, which is a bit different, where the platform can support the 5 last versions. So currently it's 14, 15, 16, 17, 18.
And this is done like for partners, I guess, because the life cycle of the versions is exactly the same for them.
So it's to get them the time to upgrade properly and to maintain the code more easily.
Okay, what other reasons could there be for upgrading? Why would that be a good idea?
New features.
New features,
Better performance.
better performance, blazing fast things.
There is a lot of reasons.
Somebody
just to
told
upgrade.
that.
Yeah, but as Maureen said, there is a lot of reasons,
And support
Yeah,
from
the
the actual
Yeah.
support team, right?
Yeah, so if you are in 16 and you upgrade to 18, you have 3 more years of support where you can open a ticket whenever you want, and our team will handle it and help you get through it.
Yep. How often does it go well? Let's say it like that. Because people, when they listen to everything we're saying, they might be like, okay, but this seems a bit. Should I upgrade? Like, I don't know. I'm in 17. I'm still on a supported version. Should I upgrade or not?
Yeah, you should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Generally, people are.
I mean, for 17 to like be dead and then be like, okay, no, I have to, so I will move to 18 maybe, or maybe
After
even
that,
higher,
you're
who
not
knows,
forced, but you can upgrade.
Yeah, actually.
So
Go.
it really depends, but I would say logically and statistically speaking, we have only 1.6% of failed requests that are creating tickets. So that's not a lot. That means that from 98.4% of the time, it works well, and people don't create tickets. So that's quite nice.
Sure. It means that.
Shout out to our Ranger upgrade.
Yeah.
Yay.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, we have a bunch of questions in the chat. That's what that was what I was checking. So someone asking, very simple: can our customer upgrade from 14 to 18?
Yes.
Yep.
Good. Done. Someone asking how he can upgrade his custom modules. I guess there was help somewhere in the documentation, right? Because the CLI thing you were mentioning, for example, I didn't know about it when I used it. I mentioned it now. And I found it somewhere, like pretty easily, actually. I think it was explained on the migration platform, actually. You have like a page telling everything.
So, for a custom module, they will have to write their own scripts, typically.
Yeah.
And for that, we have, again, the utils. And there is a in the documentation, Odoo documentation, in the reference, there is a guidance to all the useful tools there. So they can definitely use those.
But yeah, for that, usually we just upgrade the custom module to one version to another and then test it with the database. And then see if it goes well.
When they have custom modules like that, where do they put the migration script? How do they run them? So in the module, so the upgrade migrations subfolder. It's still migration, right?
It's still migration.
It's still migration. I thought so.
Right.
But there is an upgrade. If you put the upgrades one, it works too.
Okay, so it's basically a subfolder on of your module.
So
where
you have the
your scripts.
So you have the migration subfolder, then the version, and then afterwards you have all your scripts, basically. pre, post, and
you can find some examples of that even in the standard code, because sometimes we have to do things like in accounting. We did that a few times on localizations. Sometimes you have to do that for whatever legal reason, and you want the upgrade of the module even without switching version to run a few things on the database. We don't do that very often, but sometimes in accounting it's necessary, so you can find some examples of that in the standard code. What testing techniques or tricks do you use to ensure a smooth migration?
Well, from the technical point of view, we have a crawler, and we run a bunch of, let's say, we emulate a bunch of functional tests essentially. That ensures that some of the functionalities that the developers had in their mind when doing the migration are maintained, let's say. Otherwise, yes, it really comes. I mean, we test them when they fail or when the customer report an issue with their functional flow. But yeah, from an automatical point of view, we run those kind of tests.
Just to ensure that we don't break the logic,
Yes.
But it's like any kind of testing. I mean, you open runbot, runbot.odoo.com. Those green things there, that means the tests pass in the supported versions. It's like so even not only for upgrading, we do tests like that all the time, because if you a program is something very complex. If you break something, you can break anything by fixing something else, and so it's nice to have something ensuring that it's behaving the way it should.
Yes.
Okay, so someone is telling us that he lost the connection to what we were explaining while we were answering his question. No worries. This will stay on Twitch first for like a month, I guess, and then it will be posted on YouTube anyway, so you can rewatch it. Don't worry. And okay, last question before we move on, I think. Someone asking if we would, so again, the V14 to V18 migration, would we do that like directly from 14 to 18, or should they rather be like, version per version, move to like 16 and then to the next one?
Well, so there are many ways to answer this. Usually for customers, for what I know, it's easier to migrate directly to the new version because they will have to retrain their personnel and stuff one time, on the new features. They don't have to, learn what changed from 14 to 16, and then after 2 months they're used to that and they will upgrade to 18 and change once again. So it usually makes sense to do the big jump. From us, but yes, this does not mean that you should wait longer to upgrade, because this can run into other issues like having a long upgrade, because if you do an upgrade from 14 to 16 and 2 years later you upgrade to 18, it will take half the time that it would take to go for 14 to 18, well, roughly half. And so it really comes down to them when they think it's a good time, but for all the reasons we mentioned before, so for the reasons it's good to upgrade, the security fixes, the new features, the blazing fast performance and whatnot, it makes sense to upgrade right away and to do so.
Plus, if they do it right away, they can, I guess, well, I would say they can test it more because you don't have to test in an intermediate version, and so. Indeed,
yes.
Which is
it doubles the
score.
It's
a gain of time. Basically, it's a gain of time.
Yeah, basically what we recommend is always go 2 versions. So if you are in 15, you go to 17. If you are in 16, you go to 18. And then when you are 18, you can wait until 20, etc., etc. So a 2-year gap is really good because it lets you the time to learn about the version that you are in, and then you don't have a big gap and like really, really big changes between versions. Well, sometimes there are big changes, but they are not as big as if you were doing 14. Yeah, for 14 to 18, it will be easier to go to 16 from 18 because the changes will be less.
Sure.
So yeah.
Sure, and indeed, you could have, if you jump from a purely technical point of view, if you have a huge gap of versions, you never know what could happen between the intermediate versions, because technically speaking, we still will migrate them from versions to versions, and then we'll give you the end result. And if there's something wrong in like one of the first migrations, upgrades, and then the chain continues, and at some point the things that were wrong there become even more wrong because of something else later. It can become a bit messy, but I guess then anyway you will see it when testing, and so you can still decide, okay, let's do a smaller jump first and see how it goes, because this might be due to the length of the chain actually.
So it's the choice of the partner customer, basically.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't like some features of 18, for example, and they will say, oh, but I will go on 17.0 and we'll wait until 19 to see what's new on 19, which is totally fine for us.
Yeah, and it depends on the people. I remember like at Odoo experience, 3 years ago, there was a partner explaining to me that they migrated some customer from like an ancient version, but I think it was like something version 5, something like that.
Whoa.
And they directly like put that customer into 15 or something. It was but it took them a while to do that, and they just wanted to do everything in one go like that, which is kind of crazy, but they managed. So kudos to them.
Yeah.
I mean, if it's that many versions, yes, we probably don't want to target the latest and greatest.
Or you just you like, I want to do everything in one go and then not
you
care
might.
about it
You
for
might
another
try.
10 years.
Trying doesn't cost anything, right? So
Let's bring the pain and just get through it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've been already saying a few things about the things that can go wrong when migrating, when upgrading.
Getting
I
job.
No, I detected myself now. It's great.
Yeah.
I'm getting better at it. What else could happen? So typically, what would be the things that could be a problem if something fails?
So, there are a number of ways an upgrade can fail. I mean, it can actually fail, so it can actually give you an error and report that error. And once again, we see it on from our point of view, from our dashboard. And it could either be something that is inherently custom, so it's inherently due to, I don't know, maybe a customer decide to delete their, a constraint on their table, to be a bit technical, and that breaks things because of a number of reasons, because that constraint needs to be re-added or whatever. So that may be very specific to their DB, and in that case we will have to handle that specifically. Or it might be something that it's broken, let's say, or it's, maybe it's corner case that we did not consider while writing the grid scripts. In that case, we will see usually a number of DBs that are failing for the same reason, and we will fix it, address it.
Like sequences of report lines or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. It rings a bell, does it? Yeah, it does. Well, actually, no. Actually, that's interesting, because that one was not failing the upgrade, right? The customer were getting the upgraded DB, but they had an issue when
they tried to open the
they could have opened there, yeah. Indeed. So yes, that can happen too. And of course, we fix those functional, let's say, issues as well. Another issue can be performance-wise, let's say. So I have oftentimes dealt with customers that asked us to try our best to decrease the time for the upgrade. And
because for you that's one. I would say like the biggest challenge, and it's always very interesting, because the process, so that people get it, is R&D. When they make the feature, they write the upgrade script to adapt. So master branch, so the bleeding edge work in progress version of Odoo. To the changes they made, and then these changes need to be reviewed by your team.
Yes.
And it's always very, very technical, actually, because of course you don't have the same view of the database as we do, and there are like plenty of things to think about to just make the thing faster, and because the volume of things to treat is of course huge, and so of course you need to optimize everything. And so that's the kind of problems you're talking about. It can be that something in the script was actually not so optimal and needs to be rewritten.
Yeah, I mean, it's very complicated, actually. There are a number of reasons that could go into that. We have a number of servers, but when you submit your request, there may be a higher load, for instance, so that may play. So it's harder, to get reliable upgrading time. But yeah, of course, the grid scripts themselves oftentimes need an adjustment, let's say, from a performance point of view, and that may be for a number of reasons, because when you're writing those scripts, and even when we review them, it's hard to predict what the DB will look like, and what the query or whatever will how it will be executed, because I don't want to get into the technicalities here, but Postgres will.
We should do an episode about that.
Yeah, maybe.
We will invite you again. Good
Okay.
idea.
Yeah, but Postgres does. So Postgres is the database we use to do, and so they when we run a query, it makes a number of choices that we are not fully in control of. So based on the data that is in the database, those decisions can go wrong and take a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And in that case, we need to adjust them.
Mm-hmm.
But it's really hard because we don't have. I don't know. I was working on a ticket recently where they have, I think, 900 million records for analytic account lines, which is a lot, and updating them.
It's more than a lot.
It takes a lot of time. We have a number of scripts to improve that, but yes, of course, it's very challenging.
Mm-hmm.
So and it gets increasingly challenging when we do a big step in upgrade. So
Plus, it does not always come from the scripts. I mean, there could also be something in that was introduced in the new version people upgraded to, that is like relying on some computed field somewhere, or something that from our ORM, so our own code, that is just doing something
silly,
a bit too naive, and ruining the feature. That can happen.
That happens a lot too. Well, I would say we are on top of that now. Where most of the patterns are dealt with during the review. It doesn't happen a lot, during upgrades, at least from my experience lately. So that's something we improved upon, I would say. But yes, it still definitely happens. We run into memory errors for that and a number of other issues. But
okay. Also, purely functionally, I guess one of the big challenges must also be that sometimes a feature changed drastically, right?
Yeah. Sometimes you remove an application. Sometimes you change the application.
Sometimes you do both.
Sometimes you do both.
Sometimes you do nothing.
So let's say for 18.0, documents has been completely revamped, which triggers a lot of errors for the customers. So we receive a lot of tickets from it. Luckily, we work closely with the team that did that, and with R&D upgrade also. So we have ways to help the customers to make sure that the documents app is working properly. But in general, it really depends on what the customers did with the application. For example, consolidation is not there anymore.
Consolidation is a big subject.
It's a big subject.
It might be because of me that it's not there. But I have no regrets. And consolidation. It's an interesting point because the consolidation app, it's a very special case. So we decided to remove it in Odoo 18. So we replaced it by new features, shared accounts, and I'm not going to get into the details, but we are currently writing a doc about that for your team, by the way.
So we asked for it.
I actually need to review it. So we dropped it and we replaced it by new features. But the thing is, depending on what people had configured and how it is configured, it's actually impossible to migrate the former model to the new one. Plus, if we did do this migration, this could be potentially like breaking or messing up the whole accounting of people. And so, of course, we don't want to do that automatically. And so that's why we made that choice not to have an actual upgrade for that. But of course, now people need to understand the feature and make sure how to configure it. And so that's why I was talking about the documentation, because actually we don't really have one yet. And that's something we're working on.
And that's totally fine in the end, because we discussed about it. And so we do case by case and we help the clients. So you step in the tickets, for example, and you step in the discussion. So in the end, it's not blocked. It's not something that is really blocking. So the customer can still test, can still go on. It's totally fine. Big changes happens all the time in Odoo. Sometimes you have to explain them to the clients, which is the more complicated thing.
Sure.
Because if you don't understand them, it's hard to explain. But
but it's good that I mean, it's interesting to see that there is also this like explaining side of things in your job and the interaction you have with the customer, and for us it's also interesting because when we remove a feature like that and do something like violent, because this is like clearly violent things. That's the most violent things you can do when you're doing a program, when you're a programmer. So you all have your own level, huh? And typically it's also for us a way to get the feedback and make sure that the thing works. We did already a bunch of fixes for consolidation and changed a few things so that it actually works for people, because there were things that we missed actually when we did the feature, and that's part of the thing as well. That's interesting to have that.
Yeah, it's part of the upgrade process, I think.
Sure.
In general, we received the feedback from the client saying, "Hey, it's not working. Please explain."
Yeah.
And then we all get together in the table and we speak about it.
Even for new feature for future versions, basically.
Exactly. Even for new features, when they open a ticket and we don't understand it, it's not explained in the release note because it's not a big change, but it's also it depends on the client. As long as we have a discussion and we can go on and keep going, it's totally fine.
And actually, I have an anecdote about a feature like that was used in a way that was not at all what was supposed to be the usage, and we discovered that like years later when people actually migrated. So it's for old stuff, but from version 8 to version 9 in accounting, there was so that thing that at the beginning of each financial year, at the time, you were supposed to do a new accounting entry with all the balances of your balance sheet accounts. So since Odoo 9, it's not necessary anymore, but in theory, you're supposed to do that. If you do your accounting on paper, that's what you do. And so in version 8, they had to do that. But the thing is, they didn't only put the balances of their account in that move, and that we were not aware they would do that. And so when migrating, we were like, okay, it's fine. We don't need that anymore. We recompute the balances dynamically, and since this booking need to be consistent with everything that is in the history before, we can just put it in draft and it will work fine. And that was like the root of nearly every big problems we had in accounting for the 8-9 migration, but we discovered that great. But we discovered that afterwards, and so it's really interesting because sometimes people do things with the thing you did. You're like, shit, they're right. It can't be done like that, but. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, and that's why actually reviewing the scripts you write, it's very challenging because. I mean, in principle, on a perfect flow, on the flow that we have on paper, maybe with no customization on top and everything, the script is perfect per se, right? But then comes the customer and rightfully so does their changes or uses the tool that we provide in a way that we didn't, predict.
Yeah, this is a very humbling job, actually. Every time something gets wrong, you're like, I missed that.
Human error.
Human error, but yeah. Okay, maybe something that is worth saying as well, because we are like reaching the end, so we will go fast for the end. When someone comes back with a lot of issues, so the same database, the same upgrade, this is first failing, then they have problems, they don't understand something there, something seems wrong with something else, so they create a lot of tickets. You do have something in your process to handle that better, right?
Yeah, so what's happening is when the customer is creating multiple tickets, above 5 in general, we generally ask someone from the team, from the experts, upgrade experts, to handle the project. So we assign someone, and this person will be the reviewer of the ticket, will check all the tickets, decide if they are technical or functional. So functional ticket is when the problem is coming from the usage of Odoo, and technical ticket is when it's a problem in the code of Odoo. And so we decide we are the main point of contact for the customer. So they will always listen to the same person and write to the same person, which is good in the end because you create a relation with the customer and they can rely on you for questions.
Sure, and if there are like specificities to the database, you don't need to have like a different guy each time learning them and be like, what is that already? And because that can be, I guess, like super frustrating for the customer to have this feeling that he's just a number talking to someone different every time and needing to re-explain everything all the time. So it's good you do something.
Yeah,
like that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's quite useful for the client, and they feel valuated and listened to.
Good. So let's
Good
just
job.
finish with
Thank
a
you.
final word about something we didn't really mention so far, and maybe we could do an episode just on that at some point. Who knows? Who knows? If that guy wants to come
Oh.
back. Rolling releases. So what is that exactly? Because that's a magical word that we have heard about a few times at Odoo Experience, and it has been name dropped a few times over the years. What does it cover? And because this is a thing now, it's not just a dream anymore.
It is now. I wish it was. No, no. Okay. So, well, the rolling release is, well, let's say it allows customers to be, let's say, on the bleeding edge or closer to the bleeding edge by upgrading to versions that are in between. They're not constrained to upgrade from 17 to 18, so only to major versions, but they can also experience 17.2, 0.3, 0.4, depending on which versions are
And
actually
they get
included.
them when they are released.
Well, not
Or
exactly
nearly.
when they're released, but yeah, somewhere around that time. There is a period of time when the version is released, and then we test it behind the scenes, let's say, for the upgrade part, and then we allow customers to upgrade to it. So like,
for example, now we're can they already upgrade to 18.1, or is it
I
like
I don't
very
think
soon, right?
I don't think it's
Yeah.
gonna be allowed. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I will have to. You will have to double check on me. But yeah,
It's in discussion.
it's in discussion. Yeah, it really depends on the rolling release. But yeah, usually we do. For 18.1, I don't think. I think we'll skip to 18.2. So customers will be migrating from 18 to 18.2. I may be wrong again. So yes, this allows customers to experience the new features in an even faster way, and so also more atomized, let's say. So they don't get the whole major 1 year work. But they only get 2 months of work at a time, so that they can adjust more quickly. And that's actually very useful for us as well, because we get all those DBs that are upgrading against these new versions at a 2, 4, 6 months increment, let's say. And so we get our process is more refined because of that, because we get a lot of failures early on, so we can address them. And otherwise, if we waited for upgrades to 18, let's say from 17 to 18, then we would have all the issues that happened in 1 year from the 400 developers in Odoo. Our 11 people team would have to handle them all at once. On the other, while this helps us.
So that also helps, if I get you well, to when we release the next major version of Odoo, to have something that is more quickly stable from an upgrade point of view.
Yes, exactly, yeah. Because 17.4, for instance, when we released 18, was already sort of established, right? Because there were lots of DBs that upgraded to 17.4, so it's we get a more stable, like say, snapshot, if you wish. So
but that also means, so if we can point maybe some downside to it, it also means that the code you're running on is a bit more experimental. Maybe not experimental, but
well, yes.
You're getting the troubles first.
Yeah. Actually, yes.
You're getting the feature
it's a
first, you're getting the
hero.
problems first.
It's a hero kind of job, I guess. Well, I cannot speak to that because I mean I don't work in support, so I don't have real feedback on that side. But lots of people actually subscribe for the rolling release. Lots of customers, so I guess it works well for them. One of the things they somewhat complain about is that they are somewhat forced more frequently to upgrade, and this can be a pain maybe for them sometimes.
The upgrades are smaller, so it's easier to manage.
Yeah.
And I would say you only have those small upgrades to care about, so you never get the full big upgrade that will break all your processes. You need to relearn everything. It will always be by little changes like that.
Yes, and it's actually how the R&D team works behind the scenes, right? We have that freeze, so it really mimics that, and I think it's a net positive for both the customers and for us, because we all get a better process in the end.
Okay, this way we have talked about rolling releases.
Yeah.
Well.
One thing that the customer don't understand is that when you are in, let's say, 17.1, and you will have to upgrade every 3 to 4 months to the next version, to 17.2, and then to 17.4, and then to 18. But once you're in 18, you are not forced to go to 18.1 or 18.2. You can stay in 18.0 for as for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So
you can change your mind if you realize that trolling
yeah,
releases don't go well.
so you can
were.
change your mind as long as you get to the new major version.
Yeah, you cannot stay in
17.4. So if you are in 17.4 at the moment, you are currently forced upgrade to 18.0, and you can create tickets for us to help you, which is the way to do it. And we will help you resolving all the issues that you have, and we will lock and block the force upgrade until all the tickets that you've created are resolved, which can be really good if you want to take the time to test.
So that's the trick of the day.
Another trick is if you want to create a database and you don't want to be in an intermediate version, you can always go to odoo.com/start-LTS. Okay. Which will create
LTS
a database.
Is long-time support.
Yes.
No. For those not familiar
LTS
with
is long-time support, and it will create a database in 18.0.
Perfect. And that will be the final advice for today, because guys, I'm sorry, but it's time already. You can come back anytime, and you know it. So thank you for, of course, all your answers, explanation. I think we covered it pretty well, because that was a very dense episode. We might do other episodes dedicated to upgrades, because I think there are more things we can go deeper into. We will see. Thanks, of course, to the viewers, and see you in the next episode next month. Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.